I am going to do a little 5D mystic chit chat. And so it's going to be informal. And that's for my lovely 5D mystic community. Those of you who not only you work with the emotion regulation skills, so you learned and or are learning every day, whether through the episodes or on your own, because on your own it's straightforward. We learn how to use our left chit chatter and the emotions that come up. We care to have that love and respect in the forefront because everybody's human. So we're not actually dramatizing. I'm 43, so I recognized in a recent couple of years, thank you trauma experts, that most people, they have childhood trauma that they're not looking at. They have attachment insecurities that they're also not looking at. They do know about the movies, but apparently they're not aware that the drugs, sex, alcohol, food, it's not about going back to the ancients and, like when they, with Elvis, they couldn't let him dance. Like they took off the bottom of the video because he was doing his moves. So I know that a lot of people are like, oh, today's generation, they're like all over the place. Some, not all of us, actually. The 5D collective is not there. So it's going to be, again, very informal. And I'm trying to, today in this one, for my 5D mystics, the ones that are out there, to highlight aspects that are actually quite normal to us. If you're intuitive, which we all are, but intuitive with maturity. So 5D, oneness consciousness, is because you use, again, your physical human being brain. And I say it because I meet 4D mystics and they don't notice the narrative discrepancies. They don't notice not only that they don't have healthy or normal or what self-worth is. The trauma therapist, self-worth is where you and I'm not superior or inferior to you. It means I don't have a shame button where I feel that I should be ashamed. So some people, they live a shame cycle, even a shame continuum, and that's where they go to get therapy to get out of it. So I've heard a lot of people use, oh, I'm an imposter syndrome person. I do self-sabotage. People use words, the 4D included, and the 4D is a little bit more quote-unquote special, not because they're more special, we're all special. To a 5D mystic, it will be like, you're intuitive. You're telling me you're spiritual. You're telling me you have a relationship with this infinite. And yet you don't seem, though, to know that we're all here and we can all be here together. And there's just narrative discrepancies that we'll notice as they get emotional. And in their emotional moments, though, their adaptive child is protecting, in fact, the inner child. So the person's not aware of their structural dissociation as they're engaging in it. Plus they have stories, though, and they got communities, so they get together and have plenty of beautiful friends. So this is why 4D is going to stick around. They're not going anywhere. There's screaming. I'm guessing they're playing, hopefully. We did have a bit of an earthquake going on, so that creates, back to being humans, creates fear. We're nervous systems, and there's so many different ways I could bring to you all this content, but I only have 10 minutes. We talk about it in different ways on the episodes on Spotify for podcasters, Spotify, iHeartRadio, the Inspiring Human Potential podcast is pretty much anywhere. There's paid subscription-based model content, which is focused on helping through that inner growth mindset, dealing with unknown, uncertainty, unwanted from within you while going with the flow, using your heart. So it's called emotion regulation skills, using your brain, as well as for my lovely mystics and just functional adults, relationships, and how we don't live it with drama, because secure people love and respect each other. So we handle any conflict with expansion, which is why we don't actually get destabilized and point a finger and do the shame, blame, fault, or revenge game on whether it be oversoul, twin flame, soulmates. There's no dark auras, there's no energy vampires. But here's where the 4D, what they have is a different experience. This is why I wanted to talk about mystic land for a minute. Sadhguru, for example, he's spirituality, although I know he has a podcast out I love. It's something along the lines of mystic or mistake, because he talks about how, the human experience is your spirituality process. But because he talks to you in terms of spirituality, it's not in the human terms. So let me spell it out. A functional adult, a person who knows how to regulate, a secure person, has their nervous system in ventral vagal, and it means when you and I are talking, even if you're yelling at me, I'm able, in time, of course, that's why it's a choice of learning how to regulate your own emotions first, which equals the brain. You integrate it. Once you have integration, that's where you start to actually be able and just navigate with the ventral vagal nervous system, because you and I are not threats to each other. In fact, you're not a threat even if you're unknown, uncertain. Now, an earthquake, that one is more destabilizing, because that one's physical. In fact, in tomorrow's retrograde channeled guidance, I mention a little bit about that, because some of us, the 5D mystics in the Enlightenment Soul Age group, are actually getting to put into practice the physical plane mastery. So we all, anybody who knows about Akashic record readings and just about mysticism will know we're mastering our mental, emotional, and physical planes. So you know when you are where you're at as a 5D mystic. I know I'm mastering physical, and I also know that I'm always where I'm meant to be. This is the other part. 5D mystics don't have huge tower moments. It's because we do dharma, not karma. So we're using the two sides of our brains, just means human 101, secure person. So how do I handle conflict or anything? I do try to regulate and make sure I'm good, and then after that, I will look at you with love and respect, because that's the polite thing to do. It's also the right thing to do. Because what I know is I'm Maria. I have a personality. I have an opinion. One of my favorite friends, they were very much intrigued. And every time I would say, I don't have an opinion, I don't have. They'd say, no, but I can see you have something. I was like, okay, let me fix that. I don't create it as a fact. It's not a truth. It's my personal, subjective opinion, my relationship to the external. And that's what a spirituality process person knows. So 5D mystics, we don't have a relationship with the sphere of Akash or space as if it's a supernatural. We also don't take it upon ourselves to say, I can tell you everything about you because I have clairs, like the 4D does. And this is where the 4D disrespects, if you will, for a 5D person, the aspect of every person is here to be on a journey to expand. But it's not so much disrespectful as it is that they look down. The minute that a person who is 4D thinks they're special because they have clairs, they're looking down. And so here's where the 4D collective is right now. Some of the 4D collective, and there's not anything except for movies such as Mean Girl or Hangover. So it's really not. I'm 43. I see a lot of adults being teenagers. It does not look fun to me, but unlike what I've heard from other people who are awakened when they say people are hooked, no, people are not hooked. They actually think that the mannerisms of their teenage self, so their unresolved trauma, their attachment insecurity, that their lack of actual self-worth is justified. Because when their mind is in anger and they are in a moment of biochemistry of fear, ruminating, they are not paying attention to the one thing that is theirs, and those equal the emotion regulation. Number one, your nervous system is how you are immediately going to be, which is why they don't close that lovely fist, and they're not using their third eye. They don't even know why their third eye is blocked, but they'll hear the story of why it was blocked in the ancient times from their Akashic record reading. Okay, so a 5D mystic don't sit in the invisible land of, oh, my third eye is blocked because I was a witch or whatever it is. There's a way to look at oneself and say, what am I bringing to the table? And also that, again, we're all people. So unless you have a physical weapon, you're not a threat. And the ability to look at you with love and respect is because you and I share what is called a human experience. It's called decency. And on that note, with the energies around, the ones who are locking in on thinking that they know everything about their own future, their own present, twin flames, soulmates, everything, they've become the dead sure idiots. So their clairs aren't going to make a difference. But what they don't do is actually bring hope for the future. When they pick up on stuff because they're not mastering how to get out of the fear that comes up when they're in effortlessness, and they picked a story, they chose a story, they're anointed and special and others are not, and they're saving somebody or the entire species or whatever, however it is it goes, that's where it's a co-creative and co-collective effort. I mean, staying grounded is nice because the 5D mystic, we interact with each other with our clairs. We don't actually talk about being special. We talk about the experiences, and that's what we also get to do, as well as the relationships and how to grow together into secure attachment people so that we can help to resolve trauma. Tune in.